Hey guys, welcome back to Growing and Crowing. So today's video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about memory keeping. And this kind of got started this morning because I got a text message or email from Shutterfly that they were having their free extra pages sale, which is one of their biggest sales when it comes to printing photo books. So when I print these and share them locally on excuse me, social media, I get a lot of questions about where I order them from, what my process is, what size books I do, and that kind of thing. So I just thought I would share maybe a little bit of my journey from scrapbooking to working on design teams to vlogging to now, or blogging to now doing YouTube and doing vlogs. For me, it's about capturing memories and recording those stories for our kids and grandkids and generations to come. I've always kind of been a photographer in the way that I was always the one, with the camera, taking pictures. And in the late 90s, we didn't have cell phones where we could just quick take a selfie and record all the things that we can nowadays. So it took some effort to have those those cameras with us, and I might have been a little bit annoying with taking all those, but man, I'm glad I did, because we have a lot of fun memories to look back on. So I will start with kind of where I started. Almost 22 years ago, when our oldest son was born, I got invited to a scrapbooking party, and it snowballed from there. So it was one of the scrapbooking parties. I don't remember even which one it was. It wasn't Stampin' Up. It was something different, and it was a great way for me to have a creative outlet, but also finally do something with all these photos that I was taking, and kind of went from there. So I've done various sizes over the years, and started with the traditional scrapbook, paper scrapbooking and that kind of thing, like physical products. This is an 8x8, and there's all kinds of different, and looking back now, like the product itself doesn't matter so much, as it, they're great to help you tell your story and kind of give you that whole vibe. It's more of an artistic, creative outlet thing than it is anything. And Erin used to always say, Meg, you're working for paper. And yes, I probably was for a long time, but it was okay with me because I was preserving our memories and getting to be creative at the same time. So, but yes, as long as, those photos are in there, you're writing down who's in those photos, what was happening, and that sort of thing. I love to look at old photographs, and they weren't always written on and saying, who was in them or who was doing what. So I think that with memory keeping, no matter how you're doing it, it's important to, write those stories down, or include some of that journaling in there, so generations to come don't know, who this person is, and they can know exactly who was in those photos and what was happening. So it's part of the important part of process. So yeah, it went from doing that, and we had a couple local scrapbooking stores, and they were so much fun. They'd hold crafts. So actually before that, I sold Stampin' Up, and so that was a really fun adventure where I'd go do parties at people's houses. I was gone almost every Friday night or whatever it was, showing samples and doing stuff. And I met a ton of people doing that, and a lot of which are really good friends to this day. So definitely don't regret doing any of that either. But it also, I met a lot of people that way. I've always been one to say that whatever, you may have a job now and it might not be your lifelong career, but that job is going to teach you something or lead you to your next job that might be something you'll do for the rest of your life. So I definitely met a lot of people that way. And from there, I worked on some design teams for different companies, and then our local scrapbook stores. So the companies themselves would send you their product, and you would create your pages and then send them in for either their catalogs, magazines, or trade shows. And so I got to go a couple trade shows. That was really pretty cool. Again, met a lot of people that way. And eventually, just because it was the most popular, went with the 12 by 12 size. Again, this is, the traditional paper scrapbook pages I don't know how glary that is, if you can see it. That's a good example of, you know, kind of our homestead. So even back then when I was more focused on scrapbooking, it was scrapbooking about our farm and our home and all the things that we did and have done with our kids. And it was just a lot of fun to look back on all those little memories. But I went to Allie Edwards came up with a system called Project Life. So it has all these little pockets, and you got all kinds of little embellishments or cards that you would put in there. That's kind of where I left off with the traditional scrapbooking, and I love that system. It was just, you know, over the years I had accumulated a lot of scrapbooking stuff, and I just needed to clear some space and get some things, make it a little easier. Life got busy as our kids got older too, so I didn't have as much time and didn't want to stay up those late nights working on all the things like we used to. But again, those were full of memories. My sister and I used to be up till 1, 2 in the morning scrapbooking, and you know, they were as much fun as it is to look back on the pages we were creating those nights. So from there, I tried out Shutterfly, which I would highly recommend. I'm not affiliated with them. That would be super awesome at some point, but I'm not. So I went with the 12 by 12 size scrapbooks because they, how my storage system is, they fit well with these other ones, and I have a lot of these. So started with the 12 by 12 size. So there's 2 different paper types. One is kind of the regular thin paper, and I prefer the deluxe lay flat pages. So it kind of, if you have them open like a coffee table book, they don't do this little, you know, warp or hump there. They are more expensive, but when you're able to find a sale like they had going on this morning, it's worth it. And the print itself is, you know, the color wise of the pictures and stuff print a lot nicer. So I kind of thought, so this morning when they sent it, I was almost done with our December through July book. So I quick finished that up, excuse me, and ordered that. So I thought this next 6 months, maybe I'd start recording kind of my process and doing some screen recording of how I put together a book, so that you can kind of see my whole process. And so maybe in 6 months we'll have a follow-up video to this, excuse me, and how that works. But yeah, as you can see, I've been doing it for multiple years. I do the matte cover when I order them. There is also a glossy cover, which I accidentally ordered one time. It's not terrible, but I don't love it as much. I like the matte finish. Excuse me. The glossy finish, I think, would probably stand up better if it got something spilled on it. So there is that. That's kind of a benefit of that, I guess. As far as the paper types, one time I did order, I did order this, excuse me, I'm gonna have to take a drink. I think they had a sale or something. So I just decided it's fine. I'll order the regular paper, which is a lot thinner and almost like, not magazine, a little thicker than that, but they're okay. Excuse me. But I definitely prefer how well the pictures show up on that thicker paper. It's just a little more professional. But it's not terrible. It's still our memories, still our story on there. The photos just didn't print as brightly, and even though I'm a photographer and I have expensive equipment that I take photos with, I don't always use that, and I don't often use that at home because I don't want something to happen to it. It's expensive. I got to use it for work. So 95% of the time, my memory keeping is on my phone. And how lucky are we that we live in a day and age that we have cell phones that are so good that we can record those memories and, you know, literally in our back pocket, just grab our phone as we see something and capture it and tell that story. So anyhow, the paper's not terrible, but I don't love it. So I always recommend the lay flat pages because they're just nicer quality. So yeah, I am going to show a few things on the screen and kind of give some examples of how I do memory keeping. And when we're at an event, it could be any everyday thing. I try to get the details and stuff of anything that's going to help tell that story. So it can be, I think of it as like when I'm shooting a wedding reception, and it's just as important to get that bride and groom dance as it is to get the centerpieces that they put all that time into, or what they ate for dinner. That's a big one. Like we can't always, but we try to go through and photograph what they had for dinner, because believe it or not, those are important things. You spend a lot of money on those things, so it's all part of telling the story. So I try to think of our everyday lives in what's going to help complete this story, whether it's on a layout or it's going to be on a vlog in the near future, kind of B-roll, I guess, if you think of it in the terms of YouTube. It's your B-roll, it's your detail photos. And so to me, those are sometimes my most favorite ones. And if you love this idea of seeing kind of my process of how I create this book, let me know in the comments, and we'll be sure and kind of start doing a follow-up video that probably won't be up until 6 months once I have the next one complete. But I think it'd be kind of fun to do, and another way of how we are documenting and sharing our homestead.